Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and today we're going to talk about the Airbnb bust. And we're going to look at new laws that are affecting multiple thousands and thousands of units. And we're also going to take a look at new tax laws. We're going to take a look at the crime. We're going to take a look at the over amount of inventory versus supply when it comes to Airbnb. And we're going to talk about how Airbnb is absolutely destroying the locals in certain metro areas, just like Phoenix. When I went to Phoenix, you guys, I found over 1,000 Airbnbs. And now that the data is out, we found out that less than half of those Airbnbs were even rented out during the Super Bowl. So obviously, guys, there is a massive problem brewing with short-term rentals. And you guys know that I've been pointing out several different catalysts that I believe are going to continue to decrease prices of homes in our housing market. And one of those, guys, as you know, is not only the rental market, but more specifically the short-term rental market. I believe that this crash is going to be led by the rich. Whether it's a new home builder or investor, there's a lot of black storm clouds brewing. So we're going to jump into the things like that today, you guys. And I really appreciate you following me along with this video. If you guys can, just quickly like this video, comment if you can, but let's get started right now. So I'm going to reference 5 different articles. I'm going to briefly go through them, and I'm going to list each of those in my video's description if you guys want to go back and read it for yourself. But here's the first one, guys. This is from Thrillist, and this goes, NYC may lose 10,000. Think about it. 10,000 Airbnb listings due to new regulations. Imagine being rug pulled as an investor. Sorry, but you can no longer have Airbnbs in NYC. Isn't that wild, guys? But let's read some of this. Finding an Airbnb in the Big Apple is about to become more difficult after recently announcing stringent new regulations on home sharing platforms. The administration of Mayor Eric Adams now estimates that approximately 10,000 Airbnb listings are likely to be erased from the platform. And if you guys don't think that is going to massively damage the people that own those homes, you're wrong, because that is going to hurt them significantly. Complete rug pull. The new rules, which were initially proposed early in November, are set to go in effect starting January 9th, Daily News reports. According to the new regulations, Airbnb hosts will be required to register their listed homes and apartments with the city's Office of Special Enforcement. Wild. And failing to do so will result in hefty fines. Hosts who proceed to rent out their units without registering them could face penalties up to $5,000. And personally, you guys, I like this because I don't believe short-term rentals should be in residential neighborhoods. That's like putting a hotel in the middle of the neighborhood. How is that fair to the other owners? It's not. Short-term rentals are not fair and do not belong in SFR neighborhoods, in my opinion. Now, I get coastal towns are different. That's a vacation hub. That's a tourist hub, but not in single-family residential neighborhoods. It's wild. Let's read a little bit more. To successfully register an Airbnb listing, the units must meet some very specific requirements. All those homes and apartments that don't satisfy the registration conditions will be weeded out of the platform. Wild. And hosts won't be able to rent them out anymore. Again, that's about 10,000 units that will end up being delisted. 10,000 units, you guys, and that's just in NYC. So, needless to say, you guys, the cat is out of the bag when it comes to Airbnb. Obviously, that was the pride and joy of mostly small-term investors, probably for the last maybe 2.5, 3 years, where it actually really blew up, right? And now, you guys, unfortunately, people are starting to understand the massive problem when it comes to short-term rentals. That not only the locals, which is totally unfair to them, and you're pricing out locals as well, but now people that were wanting to invest in Airbnbs are, hitting pause. Let's move on to the next part of the video, which is another article on restrictions. Now, what they're doing, you guys, is they're implementing a lot more taxes on short-term rentals. So let's read this again. This will be listed in my description. EPC amends approves new regulations for short-term rentals in Winnipeg. Mayor Scott Gillingham's inner circle has made changes to proposed new regulations for short-term rentals, such as those offered by Airbnb. City Council's Executive Policy Committee voted Tuesday on a package of regulations that would see the city's licensed short-term rentals impose a 5% accommodation tax on the rentals and restrict how many properties any single owner can rent out. So a 5% tax, is that 5% tax on the purchase price? Right? Is that 5%? What's the 5% tax on? That's wicked, you guys. That's wicked. And they're limiting the amount of ownership. I mean, this is crazy. Let's keep reading. The plan that initially came to the committee would have imposed less rules on short-term rentals in downtown Winnipeg and areas zoned for commercial or multifamily use. So they went back in and said, you know what? We're going to make this worse on you guys because you're messing up the housing market and you're disturbing the peace in so many neighborhoods. You guys, these are crime-ridden hotels. It's a hotel that people are doing crime. They're staying there when they're not supposed to. So wild, wild, wild stuff here, guys. Let's read a little bit more. I'm protective of my residents who've complained about parties and so forth. And again, you guys, that's what I'm saying. You can't have a hotel in a community of single-family residential homes. The problem is they're not background checking the tenants, right? They're essentially most of the time, they're letting anyone in those rentals because they're desperate. The owners are desperate. They need to cash flow, so they're giving the rental properties to the first person that asks, at least most of them. And here's the thing, we're going to see, I don't know if it's going to lead to a black swan event. I'm not sure about that, but we're going to see an absolute meltdown this year and into 2024 for Airbnb short-term rentals, and we're already seeing that. But let me show you guys a little article that I just want to point out a little bit, just a tiny bit of the amount of crime that is going and taking place in these short-term Airbnb rentals. Again, you guys, this article will be in my description if you want to go into it some more detail. But this is crazy. These are crime reports. Guests accused of squatting in Aldine Airbnb. So let's not even talk about the squatting, right? So if you're an owner, think about the squatting rights, right? Think about that for a minute. If someone's clever enough and they understand how the game works, they're going to go rent an Airbnb and not leave and not pay that, and not pay that landlord. Is that something that, you really think is a good idea? But let's not talk about the squatting. Let's take a look at a little bit about the type of incidences that have been reported. So criminal trespass. A victim reported 2 known suspects stayed past their agreed time to leave a local Airbnb. A report for criminal trespass was taken. So they can't even get these people out. So anyways, guys, I mean, there's reports like that all over the place. What I'm trying to say is in my opinion, it's just an investment that's not going to work. Again, it's different if it's coastal, touristy, but it's got so bad where they've basically put this in the middle of our communities. And let me know, guys, let me know if you agree that we should, tell me if you agree with me or not. I know it's just my opinion. That's why I'm, sourcing all of this, but tell me whether or not you guys feel that I'm overreacting. They've purchased a property. They have rights. They should be able to do whatever they want, right? Or if you agree with me and basically say that, heck no, they do not belong in our neighborhoods because look at the tenants and look at the problems and look at the parties and all of that other stuff, right? But not only that, let's go into and here's the other thing that is hitting Airbnb so bad right now. There is way too much inventory versus demand. So way too much supply versus demand. Take a look at this article. Interest in short-term rentals may be waning. Supply exceeded demand in 2022 for the Southwest Michigan region. People in the South Haven area who want to earn extra money by renting their homes to vacationers may want to reconsider their options. According to a study released in late January, a short-term rental market in Southwest Michigan appears to be experiencing a mild bust. The study conducted by Ann Arbor-based CEO Host reviewed revenue data from 2021 to 2022 in 34 communities along West Michigan Lake Shore from New Buffalo north to Frankfort and found that overall revenue remained steady. However, the number of available properties nearly jumped 65%. I'm telling y'all, talk about a rug pull. They're about to get rug pulled. So not only do we have, crime, new regulations, banning laws, we also have busts happening already because too much supply, not enough demand. And I even went to my own local housing market and I went towards the coastal cities, you guys, through Airbnb. It's shocking. There are so many, and you guys look yourself, go to Galveston or Texas or Surfside, Texas, go to the Airbnb website, or even go to Phoenix, guys, and see just how many Airbnbs there actually are. I mean, who are they going to rent it out to? Themselves? I mean, who are they going to rent all this out to? You guys, investors are getting burned and it's just beginning, and we're going to see a lot more of that as we move on through this year. Mark my words on that. I mean, we're already seeing it right now. But let's end with one more article, because I really feel like it's important to understand just how crushing the Airbnb, epidemic really has been to America, especially you guys, the locals. And again, read the entirety of this article after the video. It will be linked. But this is titled, "The Airbnb Gold Rush is Crushing Small Town America." So why be empathetic? Positives of Airbnb are worth noting, but so is the negatives, including how it has affected small town America. So pricing out locals. The allure of Airbnb did not escape the same corporations that run every other major real estate endeavor, leaving those who simply wanted to rent out a spare bedroom competing with the same playing field with which they'd always had to contend. So moving forward, this brings us to Sedona, a prime example of a town that has been more or less ravaged by the Airbnb effect, leading to economic issues that include a lack of affordable housing, nearly no rental availability, and even a teacher shortage. It's easy to look at Sedona as an isolated example, but the truth is that Airbnb's draw is much to the deterrent of many a small town America. So what they're saying is this: we already have a rental market in many metro areas that is going down. So it's also pointing out that in some cities that actually need rentals, long-term rentals, they're not there because so many investors have shifted from long-term to short-term, and that's having a massive economic effect. So much so, from what the article said, they can't even hire enough teachers to teach their children because they got nowhere to rent and they're not willing to stay in an Airbnb. So in other words, guys, the Airbnb short-term rental bust is upon us. It's going to be interesting to see how many of those current owners, especially in New York, look out for NYC. I want you guys to start watching NYC and the Airbnb bust there, because essentially they're saying they're going to lose 10,000 homes. Now, obviously, guys, if 10,000 homes come onto the market, you're selling in a downturn, and there's going to be a massive amount of inventory if all of those homes come on the market. Obviously, in order for them to sell those homes, they're going to have to compete with each other. They're going to have to lower their prices. And if they're in a new construction area, they're not only going to have to compete with each other, they're also going to have to start competing with new home builders who are now, at least in my own local housing market, who are now pricing their homes under resale value. So we got a lot of stuff going on here. We got a lot of data that is basically showing us we're in a housing market crash. Unless the Fed completely U-turns right now and brings interest rates back to 2 and 3%, this housing market crash has already started. Now, other than that, guys, I really appreciate you following along with me. I really hope you guys got some value, insights, and perspective. And if you're out there investing in real estate, I wish you luck and I hope you win.